Is it too late? I'm going to answer that question right now at the very beginning of this video because I've heard it too many times from too many capable, intelligent, faith-filled people who deserved a straight answer, and they received instead a vague encouragement that didn't actually help them. So is it too late? No, it's not too late. And I want to spend the rest of this video giving you 3 reasons why I can say that with genuine confidence, not as a pep talk, not as wishful thinking, as something you can actually stand on. The first reason is the research. There was a study done by economists at MIT and Northwestern that looked at the age of founders of the most successful companies, and not just any companies, the highest growth, highest impact ventures, the companies that changed their industries, the companies that actually lasted. The findings surprised almost everyone who encountered them. The average age of founders of the most successful companies was 45. They found a 50-year-old is nearly 3 times as likely to build a genuinely successful venture as a 25-year-old. 3 times. Now, think about what's driving that number. It's not luck. It's not being in the right place at the right time. It's precisely the things that accumulate with age and experience. You've probably heard of Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man whose face is on Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants around the world. What most people don't know is the full arc of his story. He spent his adult life trying different things: farming, streetcar work, insurance, running a ferry boat, tire sales, running a gas station. None of it really worked. He had a gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, where he started cooking chicken for travelers, and he developed a method, the pressure cooker, the 11 herbs and spices, that people loved. He thought he'd finally found his thing. And then the interstate highway was built. It bypassed his town, and his gas station business was gone. He auctioned everything off, paid his debts, and found himself at 65 years old with a Social Security check for $105 a month and a chicken recipe he believed in. So he got in his car and he started driving state to state, restaurant to restaurant, cooking his chicken for owners and asking them to go into a partnership with him. He was rejected more than 1,000 times. He kept driving. He kept cooking. He kept asking at 65 years old, and it worked. Not because he was young. Not because he had perfect timing, because he had something only 65 years of living had given him. The resilience to absorb 1,000 rejections and keep moving. The wisdom to know he had a genuinely good idea. And the tenacity that comes from having survived hard things enough to stop being afraid of hard things. The second reason is that we know about the brain. For most of the 20th century, the scientific consensus was that the brain was essentially fixed by your early adulthood. The neural connections you had by your mid-20s were largely what you had for life. That was the belief. Certain functions peaked and then declined. That was the accepted wisdom. The research of the last several decades has fundamentally changed that picture. The brain retains a capacity called neuroplasticity, the ability to form new neural connections, develop new capabilities, reorganize its responses to new learning, new experiences throughout your lifespan, not just in childhood, not just in young adulthood, into your 60s, into your 70s and 80s. I think about how rivers change course. Not quickly, happens over long periods of time, but even rivers can change. Colorado River, over 1 million years of flow, carved the Grand Canyon through solid rock that had been there millions of years. The river didn't overpower the rock in a single dramatic moment. It persisted. It found the path of least resistance, flowed steadily and consistently through the same stone year after year, decade after decade, century after century, until it had carved something that's so beautiful it takes your breath away. And the human brain works like that. Not a dramatic moment of change, but with consistent engagement, new learning, new experiences, new challenges, your brain carves new pathways and capabilities. And critically, it does this better when informed by a lifetime of prior experience. You bring something to new learnings at 60 that you simply can't bring at 25. You bring decades of context, a rich network of prior knowledge, the ability to see something in ways that means something at a deep level. And the third reason it's not too late, and this one matters to me most, it's what the scripture says. In Jeremiah 29:11, we read, God says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Now, most people know that verse. Far fewer know the context it was written from. The people of Israel were in exile in Babylon, not a comfortable exile, devastating one. Their city had been conquered. Their temple, the center of everything they understood about their relationship with God, had been destroyed. Their leaders had been taken away. Everything that organized their sense of who they were as a people had been dismantled. And they're living in a foreign land under foreign rule with no clear path back to anything that felt like home to them. And into that specific, devastating, disorienting circumstance, not into a moment of triumph or clarity or ease, but into the exile itself, into loss, the question about whether the future still belonged to them, into that, God speaks and says, I know the plans I have for you, plans for hope and a future. That promise wasn't made to people at the beginning of their story. It was made to people who were standing in what felt like the wreckage of their story, and what God said was true. God's plans for your life don't expire at a certain age. His purposes for you were not complete when the last job ended or the last season closed on your life. The verse was written to people in exile, and it applies to every person at every stage of life. At an event not long ago, a woman came to find me. She was 67 years old. She'd been watching my content for a few months, and she said, I wish I had found this 10 years ago. I think about that all the time. She said, I was standing at the threshold, but I wouldn't walk into my new season. And I asked her, well, what kept you from stepping into that new next chapter of life? She thought about that question for a moment, and she said, I kept waiting to feel ready, and ready never came. And then she said something that I've thought about many times since. She said, but I suppose today is the soonest I can start from here. Not from 10 years ago, from here, from this moment. And today is the soonest any of us can start from where we are. On June 27th, Karen and I are opening our home here in Southern California to a small group of people who are standing at exactly this place. On that Saturday, you'll have a guided, unhurried day where I explore with you the dream framework, how to process and actually move into your next chapter, having it defined. There's a link for that special retreat day. You can explore that and get the details further. And if you're not following this channel, I invite you to do so you don't miss a video. I have another one coming out tomorrow. I'd love you to be a part of this journey. Also, check out the link to explore that one-day retreat coming at the end of June. That link is provided right here.